The government has a ton of power, right? But what happens when things go wrong? When that power gets used against you? Well, back in 1999, Thailand came up with a really interesting solution. A special court system designed for one thing: holding the state accountable. So, let's dig in and see how it all works.
Seriously, just think about it for a second. Imagine a government agency just denies you a permit you should have gotten. Or, hey, what if a big state project ends up damaging your property? Who do you even call? Where do you go when the opponent you're fighting is the government? It's a huge question, and it really gets to the heart of what fairness is all about.
And for Thailand, the answer is something called the administrative court. Now, this isn't your everyday courtroom drama. Nope. This is a special place set up for the specific job of, leveling the playing field, making sure a regular person has a fair shot against the power of the state. All right, let's get into the details.
Okay, so to really get how this court works, we've got to first figure out who all the players are. And the law is actually super clear on this, which is helpful.
So first up, we've got what's called an administrative agency. And that sounds kind of formal, but it's a really broad term. We're not just talking about the big ministries in the capital. Section 3 of the Act says this covers, well, pretty much everything. A government department, an office out in the provinces, your local city council, even state-owned companies. Basically, if it's part of the government's machinery, it counts.
And then there's the state official. Again, think broad. This isn't just the person at the very top. It's any government employee, anyone on a commission, pretty much anyone doing a job in one of those agencies we just mentioned. And that's key because it means their actions can be challenged, no matter what their job title is.
Last but not least, we have administrative contracts. This is all about the deals the government makes. Think contracts for public services or managing natural resources. So, if the state signs a deal for, say, a new solar farm or to build a public park and then doesn't follow through, yep, that's exactly what this court is for.
Okay, so you've got a case. Where does it actually go? Well, the system, which is laid out in Section 7, is pretty simple. It's a two-tier system. You start at the first level, the administrative courts of first instance. And if things don't go your way there, you have the right to appeal. You can take it all the way up to the top, to the Supreme Administrative Court. So there's a really clear path to getting a final decision.
All right, we know who the players are and where the game is played. But the big question is, what can you actually sue the government for? Because this is where the system really shows its teeth.
This is the crucial part. Section 9 lays out some really powerful reasons for a lawsuit. You can file a case if an agency acted unlawfully or maybe went beyond its powers. Or what if it just didn't do something it was legally required to do? That's grounds for a case. What about taking forever to make a decision? Yep, that counts too. If their actions hurt you in some way, or if they broke one of those administrative contracts we talked about, all of those are valid reasons to take them to court.
But, the court doesn't handle everything. It has its own lane. It's there for disputes over government rules, official orders, and those state contracts. It does not, however, get into things like military discipline or cases that really belong in other specialized courts, like a labor court or a tax court. And that focus is what makes it so effective. It's an expert in its domain.
At the end of the day, a court is only as good as its judges, right? So who are these people? Who gets the massive job of judging the government itself? Well, let me tell you, the law sets the bar really, really high.
Get this. To be a judge on the Supreme Administrative Court, that's the top level, you have to be at least 45 years old. And that's not just some random number. The idea in Section 13 is to make sure these judges have some serious life and professional experience under their belts. You want someone with seasoned judgment for these kinds of cases.
And here's something really interesting. The judges don't all come from the same background. They can be professors of law or public administration. They can be high-ranking civil servants, people who know exactly how government works from the inside. Or they could be senior judges from other courts, or even lawyers with decades of experience. This mix is so important because it means the court gets the full picture, the law, the policy, and the practical reality of how things run.
And becoming a judge, it's a whole process. It's not easy. Section 15 lays it all out. First, a special judicial commission picks the candidates. Then, the Prime Minister has to present them to the Senate. The Senate has to approve them. And only after all that are they officially appointed by the king. It's this whole system of checks and balances, and it's all designed to make sure the judges are independent and have real integrity.
Okay, so let's zoom out for a second. Why does any of this matter? Why even have a system like this in the first place? Well, the answer really gets to the core of what it means to have a fair and just society.
Really, what it all boils down to is this. The administrative court is there to make sure that no one is above the law, not even the state itself. It's a powerful statement that government actions can be challenged, they can be looked at, and they have to be legal. It's accountability in action.
And you know what really sums up this whole mission? It's the oath the judges take. Before they can even start, Section 20 says they have to make this really solemn promise. It's a powerful vow to serve justice for the people without any bias. Think about that. It's a promise to be the guardian of the citizen against the power of the state.
And that brings us to a final thought. A bigger question, really. What happens when people have a real, concrete way to hold their own government accountable? It changes everything, doesn't it? It builds trust. It encourages better government. It makes a democracy stronger. It's a powerful idea, and it's something worth thinking about no matter where you live.